good driver. Jake, his father, Jeremy Drew's an IKF expert. I mean, I've raced against Jeremy as well, and Jeremy's a tough kid, tough guy. I think Jeremy's my age. Jake learned from one of the best, and Jake has been a kid that's been relatively underfunded his whole life. So, I mean, let's be honest, karting takes some money, and Jeremy's a machinist and a working class guy. So Jake's always been they've always been able to put programs together, and Jake's very, very good, but never been able to have 3 carts and 10 engines in the hauler and all that stuff that you see some guys are fortunate to have. So he's scrapped it out, and he's done a good job. So,
I like how you conveniently leave tires out of that.
Yeah, well,
cases of tires.
It's all the same. Yeah, well, it's the time and tires are the hardest things to afford, right? You can get a lot of stuff if you're good enough. Okay, I'll backtrack. I think I told you the Gary Carlton story when a guy asked me one year, what do I need to do to get a ride like Carlton? Did we talk about this the last time? And I said, yeah, you got to scrap everything. You got to win everything you can for 10 years. You got to basically live at the factory and eat, sleep, and bleed it, and then win everything. And then when you do that, then you get sponsored.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, I respect. I love guys like that. Guys like that are great stories. So, I mean, not that I don't. All stories are unique, but that's certainly the underdog stories are certainly those some like to cheer for them.
Yeah, we've had Gary Carlton on for the past 3 weeks, just kind of recapping his career up to this point, and then next week we'll have him on going into his new role as a team boss, and some of the insight. Yep. I mean, he spent 1 year in Italy, and he said he went to the track 5 times because the team he was running with just didn't have the funds to go test. And it's like, but he was quote unquote a factory driver. It's right. Like in Italy 5 times.
What team was that? Did he tell you?
He did say it. I might have been Zanardi.
It was either TB or Zanardi, probably.
TB or Zanardi. It was one of those two. And again, people think, oh, he's over there. He's, barely making ends meet as far as from being a professional paid factory driver and not going to the track. It's like, what worse combination could you have?
No, exactly. And, it's funny. Is people being a paid professional go-karter is pretty freaking amazing, right? But those jobs, there's like 25 of those jobs on the planet. I mean, those jobs are just as rare as a Formula One job. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We look at the magazines over here and you're like, oh, that guy's in a factory team, that guy's in the factory team, that guy's, yeah, those guys, some of those guys are the guys, the vast majority of those guys are the guys paying for the lead driver in each of those tents. Right?
Yep.
Which in some respects is somewhat of the model here sometimes, but that's motorsports. That's how it works. And, it's so funny. I was I think I told you, I was at the OTK factory, and, Simo Puyaka, who's, factory OTK driver, right? He's one of their factory guys. He is a paid go-kart racer. And I was there the week of the Rock World Finals, and I went, the Rock Super Final, over, and I was in the factory, and I told you the story about Mr. Robazzi was helping run the dyno, right? We talked about that last time.
I don't know if I remember that detail.
Oh, all right. So here we are at the Rock Super Final, and the weekend right after the Rock Super Final at Lonato was the WSK Final, right? So the factory team they're all walking around, babysitting all the, quote unquote amateurs, right? That were at the Rock Super Final, and I'm not saying that we're amateurs, but that's just how they look at it. That's how they are. They have the pro factory guys that race all the CIK and WSK stuff, and then you have what they call the Trophy Cup guys, which are the, whether you race X30 or Rock or Rotax or whatever. So you had all those guys, Artigo and Puyaka and all these guys for the whole event. They're walking around, service, talking to customers and working them through problems, being team players. Anybody on an OTK product, they're working them, helping them out. But I go over there on a Tuesday to the factory, and I hear, they're in the dyno room. We poke our head in, and Simo Puyaka, factory OTK driver extraordinaire. He's the guy breaking in engines on the dyno, and Mr. Rabatzi is the one turning the knobs. So here you go. You got the owner of the factory turning the knobs, and your Artigo was number one at that time. Dan retired, so it was your number two driver, but still your factory guy. He was the guy breaking an engine. And it's like, you want to be sponsored? Yeah, it's pretty glamorous. You're in a 10x10 dyno room breaking in engines, and he wasn't breaking in his engines. He was breaking in the team's engines. So he had to do like
somebody else's.
Yep, that was his job, right? Because you know why? Because the other 15 guys in the tent were paying enough for him to be there. So he had to bring in their engine.
Yeah, it's funny when you start getting those insights and going like, "Whoa, that's not what I thought."
Well, I see. We kind of paused here, and we'll go back to our champions. But
yeah, I delayed you. I'm sorry.
And that's okay. That's fine. This is what these conversations always turn sideways, and that's fine. But it's all we do is we see the magazines and the websites, and we think that Europe is so amazing and it's so glamorous, and everything. You go to the kart track, and everything is the full factory stuff. And okay, you're going to hear some ice cubes now, so bear with me.
What are you drinking?
Hawaiian punch.
Oh, okay.
So
with?
No, I'm a vodka drinker. So I got some Tito's. We think it's all it's all factory drivers and everything, but you'll go over there. I've been to Lonato on a Tuesday when there's been no event coming up. And there's a guy in a 1994 Cali Strike with a Mac Minarelli air-cooled 125 on it, just pounding out laps. Just like if you go to Dixon or Davis or Prairie City or any of these tracks on a Tuesday where some guy pulled his stuff out of the garage. It's not a 2020 Cosmic with a rock shifter on it. It's a 20-year-old go-kart with a 25-year-old engine, and he's pounding out, having a great old time, right? And I've seen that more often than not. Now, that being said, the very next session goes out, and the Tony Kart Factory team and Sebastian Vettel are out there driving their KZs.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's just crazy, right? So, but you go to the track, and it's not always just the factory teams or Joe Blow that's on all the factory stuff. There's the same amount of regular hobbyists on older equipment having a good time in their go-karts that you see here. They just don't put those pictures in the magazine.
Yeah.
And so we just have to understand karting is still just a hobby for 99.99999% of the people.
And it's a great hobby. It's fantastic.
I've had it for a few years now.
All right, so before we got sidelined, we were talking about Jake Drew.
Yeah, Jake Drew. So now I'm going to go on to Masters. So in our Masters classes, we had two, 100cc and GP. Now 100 was our biggest growth class this year. I mean, last year we had, Jimmy Gregory, Uncle Jimmy from Canada, from way up in Edmonton. He was basically our only regular competitor last year. At the last race, I think we had four guys. We had a local Sonoma guy, and we had Calvin Chen jump in, and Rob Howden. I let him jump in one of my karts. But by and large, Jimmy was the only guy. This year, I think we averaged over 10 competitors in our 100cc Masters, so it was a great class.
Wow, that's good growth.
It basically came down to two guys. It was Nick DeGraff and Tim Merritt Jr. and Nick won. So Nick won Masters 100cc. Now, what's funny about Nick is that Nick raced two classes. Nick raced, I think Tim did as well, but Nick raced Masters 100 and Masters GP, but represented two different brands doing it. So depending on what brand he was on, he was on the Vemi, and then he was on the ETAL kart with Mike Manning in the other class. He would switch suits all day long, and then switch suits at the podium when he made the podium. So it was pretty funny watching all the wardrobe changes. It was watching being backstage at a Janet Jackson concert,
She only changes once.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, just off, right? Only off one side. But so Nick did a good job, longtime Masters racer, won our Masters 100cc, and then in Masters GP, we had a repeat champion. That was Derek Wang. It was down to him and Billy Cleveland, but Derek edged Billy, and for the second time in a row, he's going to go to the Walk Super Final and represent Challenge in Masters.
Yeah, it seems like D Wang is always wins and he's always going to the international races.
D Wang has been to all of them. He's been to all three. He's a longtime road tax competitor.
Yep.
Been there many times, and then raced the Miami the X30 as Masters, and now he's the second time he's a finalist for Rock. So he's done a good job. In fact, last year he made both Rock and Rotax, and they were both in Italy, although there was a week in between. So talk about a rough life. He spent a week in northern Italy at the Rock Super Final up in Lonato, and then flew his fiance in, and they spent a week touring around Italy for a week. And then the third week, he was down at Sarno, down outside of Naples, at the Rotax.
It sounds like he's the one actually living the picture-perfect life of a factory driver.
Except he's writing the checks, but that's what I think he can afford. So, and then finally we come to our shifter classes. Shifter Masters was a tough battle. We had several different winners, but Kevin Woods came out on top, racing underneath Ron White.
CRG.
Ron Kevin White did it. It was a CRG sweep, but Neil Joseph was second, racing out of Cameron. And then and third was Jimmy McNeil, who obviously is an independent. He raced kind of out of the PKS group that Glenn kind of put together.
Yeah,
but Jimmy's been Team by Sale, they kind of put together. So it was a CRG sweep in the Master Shifter, but Kevin came out on top, and he gets a ticket to the Rock Super Final. Second in all classes that had a Rock Super Final ticket, second place got a ticket to Rock the Rio, and then third place got what we call a partial Rock the Rio ticket, meaning your entry was covered, you just had to buy tires.
Oh, okay.
So basically a half ticket. So it was like I said, about a half ticket. In the classes where there were no worlds, there's no worlds classes like the 100cc class and micro rock. Those winners got tickets to Rock the Rio. Second place got a partial ticket to Rock the Rio, and then third got a ticket to any CRC race. So any of those third place competitors basically can enter Phoenix for free. All they got to do is email it.
Nice.
And then finally,
I wish all the series did better. One of your competitors, they actually have a pretty good prize package, but you would only know about it if you were at the track. And I wish all the promoters would highlight that more at the end of the events. It's like, hey, this is what we did. It seems like at the beginning of the year, it's like, oh, we have these prizes and that's it. Right. But you just mentioned some great prizes for these guys.
Yeah, we penciled it out. I mean, it just depends on how you value those Rock Worlds tickets, because if you take advantage of all of it, right? The Rock Worlds tickets include a chassis, include an engine, include a pit spot, include your entry. So if you had to rent all that stuff and do a 4-day, 5-day national event in the United States, that's a $10,000 prize, right?
Absolutely.
And we're talking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. So in retail dollars, that's $60,000. Then you add in the Rock the Rio tickets, which are at least $1,000 a piece. You add in the partial tickets, so the price package is probably close to 6 figures in retail dollars. And I'm a realist, right? When us in the business talk about a prize package, we say we're going to give away $10,000. We're really not giving away $10,000 because there's costs and there's sponsored and there's this and that, right? So it doesn't cost us $10,000 in cash, right? We all know that.